Koto. My name's Noah Hensley. I'm currently acting manager technical advice at Matarawai, the Water Services Authority. Um, Thanks for attending today, and we'll get straight into it. Today we'll be looking at the drinking water quality assurance rules and the web form that we've created to make reporting easier. Working with my technology at the moment. There we go. We'll start off with the karakia. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā tara tara ki tai, e hi ake ana te a tā kura, he tia, he huka, he hauhu, tihei mauriora. Today what we'll cover is overview of this webinar right now, updated guidance that we'll be publishing this week, the new web form, and we'll have a chance for you to ask any questions you want to ask. So our aim is to provide that overview of the guidance, demonstrate the new web form to make sure that you're equipped to be able to do your reporting. And this is for people specifically who are following and reporting on the level 1 and level 2 drinking water quality assurance rules. We won't be covering how a rule might affect to your specific supply. However, you can email your questions in if you do have questions on that. We'll give you that email address. And then it won't cover what necessarily you need to report for your specific supplies either. Again, we can address that through email. So there's been some changes to the drinking water quality assurance rules 2022 for supplies that serve 500 or fewer people. Following consultation with the sector, and these rules came into effect on the 1st of January this year. So our website has some information on that and those changes, and you should be able to click that link now, but we'll post in the chat that link as well. More about the guidance. So there are changes to the rules, and we also promised some guidance on those new rules. So this week we will be publishing that, and you'll find it at this website page here. And I've posted a little bit of a snippy there. We already have some general guidance for very small communities. Even that guidance is helpful if you want to know more about E. coli and total coliforms and some of the testing that the kind of basic testing you need to know about when you're a drinking water supplier. And now I will hand over to Bree, who will discuss the reporting web form.
Cool. Thanks, Noah. So before I get into the actual web form itself, I just want to provide a bit of context around a couple of points related to the web form. So the first thing is that the reporting web form is only for suppliers reporting against level 2 rules. So if there's any suppliers outside of that scope, level 1, level 3, they will have to just continue using the existing API or Excel uploads that they have been using in the past. Secondly, that the web form is also currently unable to record samples or monitor results. It's at the moment merely just a series of questions as to whether or not you meet each requirement that you are required to meet. This is a feature that we'll look into in the future, but yeah, for the time being, unable to record those. Right, let's onto the actual web form itself. So start with the most important piece of information, which is how you actually get to it. So the web form is in the same place that all the reporting options have been in the past. So once you're logged into Hinikarako, you simply need to click on the reporting drop down at the top of your menu, and then select the DWQAR reporting field as you would have done in the past if you've done reporting them. On that page now will be a new link amongst all the other ones that were there before, which just says report via web form. Clicking the link there will take you straight through to the web form page, but it's also got links to any guidance there if you need it as well. So on the actual web form, so once you've clicked that report via web form button, you'll be taken to a page that just has a single field on it, which is just the supply field, which, as the name kind of implies, is where you select which supply you're wanting to report against. Once you've selected the supply, there'll be a few new fields that will appear, some which will auto-populate, things like the ID, population, supply type, but then you'll just also need to select which reporting year and which reporting quarter in that year that you're wishing to submit reporting for. Once that's completed, there'll be another section below that, which should have a list of all your various supply components, your sources, treatment plants, distribution zones, everything that is related to your supply will be listed there. You'll just need to, by default, they'll all be selected. You'll just need to make sure that you are selecting the ones that you wish to report against. If for whatever reason you are not reporting against certain ones, or however you wanted to do it. To do that, you just need to click the little checkbox underneath the Apply Level 2 Rules field on the left-hand side. Like I said, by default, it's ticked, so if you've only got one source, treatment plant, and distribution zone, don't actually have to do anything here. Once it is selected, below that will be a new section, which is the sort of the main part of the web form. This is where you have various questions for each of your source, treatment plant, and distribution zone. You'll need to go through and answer each of these. For the most part, they are all just yes and no questions. There is the occasional question which has a not applicable option. This is just for situations where the rule is not always required or hasn't occurred. So if you take the example on screen here for an example, if you aren't required to take samples under T2.1c, then you can just mark that as not applicable. You don't have to worry about it. Something that is to note about this section, though, is that in regards to where reporting is only required annually, the web form is configured in such a way that when you select quarter 4 to report against, there'll be some new questions that'll show up that'll be sort of in amongst the other questions, which are all the sort of assurance-related questions. So again, depending on which quarter you're selecting, the questions might differ. So you just need to make sure that whatever shows up, you're answering everything. Once you've completed all the questions that you're required to do, all you need to do is click that the Submit Report button at the bottom of the page, and that is basically it. Once you do that, you'll be taken back to the previous page you were on, and on that page there'll be a reporting log screen, which is, if you've done it before, you may have seen a list of everything that's been submitted. So here's an example here. This basically just shows the supply name, how it was submitted, and whether it was submitted successfully. Assumingly, there would be no issues. So if you've done it by the web form, it should always be submitted successfully. So that's it, pretty much. It's hopefully a very straightforward process, but to assist with this as well, we've also created some external guidance, which will be available on our website, which will just run you basically do what we've done here, just run you through a step-by-step of how to use the web form. So if you ever run into issues or it doesn't work for whatever reason, you can always refer back to that. Cool, and that was it for the web form. So yeah.
We know you're all busy and have some day jobs, so hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully this web form will make reporting simpler and easier. If you have any feedback on that, please feel free to email opsupport@taumatarawai.govt.nz. Does anyone have any questions? They can pop them in the Q&A chat. We'll hang around for a few minutes if anyone has any questions. So in terms of how you report data separate from this, you shouldn't have to report anything else to us. If you receive a sample that exceeds the MAV, you'll have to notify us through Hinakarako. But for rules reporting on the rules, all you have to do is fill out that web form. I can't really comment on changes to in terms of the select committee. This level of reporting in the web form there shouldn't be any effect on whether you need to submit this web form or not, or whether you follow the level 1 and level 2 rules. It's really around very small communities, but we'll have to wait till the bill is finalized to know where that's landed. Yes, the web form replaces the DWQAR Excel upload spreadsheet. We're looking at so essentially you can't submit samples yet, but we're looking at implementing an annual reporting web form as well for assurance rules reporting. And at that time, we're going to look at whether we can get something in place for you to submit your sample results as well. So watch this space. I think I'll hopefully see you at the end of the year. No longer will you have to fill out that spreadsheet. You'll just fill out a form in Hinakaraka to do all of your reporting. Hopefully I just answered that question. You are required to report your monitoring results. And so keep those results tabulated in a format. You can use the format that is currently available in the current Excel spreadsheet, and tabulate your sample results, and just keep that record on hand. The idea is you'd have something similar to that you could upload to us, and that would satisfy the whole need to report your sample results to us. And that would just be once a year. At the end of the year, you report all your results. We will, so got to be careful to promise things, but I will do what I can to get that web form reporting and those sample results ready by well before the end of the year, so we can have a webinar in November, December, and get this information out to you. Regardless, we'll have some level of communication at the end of the year to update all of you. Has anyone tried the web form yet? It was just released at the end of last week, but it is available now. It'd be really good to get your feedback, even if it's if you've got some criticisms or if it's positive feedback, and how it compares to the Excel spreadsheet. We'll wait another minute and see if anybody has any further questions. Here we go. Chim has a question. Will system owners be reminded via email the reporting requirements in a particular quarter? That's something we could look into. Assuming you want more emails from us. We don't want to inundate you with emails, but yeah, we'll look into that. It's a good idea. Fair enough. Fair enough, Jim. It's good to know that our emails are reaching and they can be helpful. That's right, Joe. That should make it hopefully quite a lot easier, because they're just kind of plain language questions that you have to answer now, instead of having to fill out the rule IDs and understand what those are, you'll just be able to kind of say, have your rules next to you and say, yep, met that requirement. And then at the end of the year, once we have a method, you can upload those samples. So. Excellent. Okay, is the Excel table available on the website? Yes, it is. Actually, Bree, do you think you could post the Excel template in the chat just so they have access to that? In general, the general rule, the first general rule and the second general rules point out what you need to report on as a level 1 and level 2 supplier. And often you have to report your results to us, but your results are really important for your supply and how you run it. And so it's important to keep those records and make sure that, nothing's changing. And if it is, you kind of look into that. Breeze just popped that in there. At the moment, there's not space in the form to offer an explanation, as there is in the Excel web form. At the moment, all we expect from private and community suppliers, so those non-council supplies, is that you know what the rules are and you're doing your best to achieve them. If we're concerned about anything, we'll be in touch, but I think most of you know your supplies much better than we do, and you'll know how to follow these level 1 and 2 rules, or have a plan to become compliant. If you have any specific questions about your supply, you should get in touch with your local representative, or your local contact. Otherwise, you just email it through ops support and we'll point you in the right direction. And Bree and I will take on that feedback about getting some notes in, because it can be helpful. We've got a continuous improvement mindset here at the authority, so really appreciate your feedback, your questions, and hope to hear from some good feedback. But also, if you have other feedback, please send that through too. Yes. So what I might explain a little bit more about how the web form works, because some things are reported are only sampled annually. So in the first quarter, all the things that you're required to do on a quarterly basis, you'll report. And same in the second quarter, same in the third quarter. And in the fourth quarter, what we'll do is we'll ask you some additional questions about those annual sampling requirements. So come that quarter 4, there'll be some additional questions just to check if you've done your annual testing requirements. So yeah. And there, for level 2 supplies, you're also required to do some assurance reporting. So reporting on your assurance rules. Now that we have this version 1 of a web form, it'll be quite easy for us to implement web form for those assurance rules reporting. There we go. So Joe has another question. Will the sample reporting still be available, able to be loaded in bulk? Yes, we'll make sure that you don't have to enter each individual sample result, because that would be not ideal. So it will look like a bulk upload. So you'll have a template. We'll try to keep that template the same as it is right now in the Excel sheet. I can't imagine we'd change it much. If anything, we might make it a bit simpler. Um, so yeah. What the web form also does is it kind of prevents you from making errors, and hopefully will make that whole process just a little bit easier. That's a really good question, Joe. Joe's asked, are you working with testing agencies for them to load sample reporting on our behalf? I've had that thought. It's not, unfortunately, it's not as simple as just asking them for those results. But it is something I'm certainly looking into. It also minimizes, that kind of thing would minimize translation error, which happens. It's human error. We're all human. We make some mistakes every once in a while. Laboratories are accredited and should be making less mistakes. Equipped to do this type of thing on a regular basis. On that, laboratories are required to notify us of any exceedances of a maximum acceptable value. So whether that's E. coli, positive E. coli, or exceedance of arsenic above the threshold that's stated in the drinking water standards, they have to require, if it's a drinking water sample, they have to report that to us independently. And suppliers are also supposed to report to us at the same time. That's right. And I guess it's whether, so Henry's just noted that it creates some legal issues because suppliers have their responsibility to report. We don't have a compliance rule that says the labs need to report. And Joe's noted that suppliers could potentially approve the labs to do that, which is something to look into. I think for now, it's some people will have a little lab notebook at the site that they're tracking their turbidity results or their other results. It's really good practice to keep a Excel spreadsheet if you can. And I mean, ideally, you just use the template to keep that, keep track of that. So that when it comes to the end of the year, you're all ready to go and report. All right. Give it a few more seconds, and then just want to thank you for your attendance today. And yeah, Kakite. Thanks, everyone.